the kids. And you'd be saying, well, that's my kid. Don't you touch him. Don't you yell at him. This is the way it went. And we were doing this in a bar, but not out loud. And we were we weren't as bad as we are now. But I said, well, I'm not listening to this. I've had enough of this bullshit. I'm going home. And I had high heels on, eh?
Stupid.
So I walked down, on what street there was, Cummings, and then down Mackenzie. I guess it was Mackenzie. But I seen the church was lit up, where I used to go as a kid. I was in the choir and everything there all my life.
It wasn't lit up.
I could see the window a little bit. It was lit up. There was a red light. Shut up. I'm telling the story. So I went up the steps, and the doors were open. So I went in, and I blessed myself. It was an Anglican church, so that it was almost like Catholic. So I was blessing myself, got the bench down, blessed myself. I just put my knees on the bench, and there was a person, and there was a light swinging in the front of the church.
Yeah.
That's weird. Like, we don't have a light in our church that does that. And all of a sudden, there was a guy beside me, and I stood up, and he was reaching for me, and he was just my height in high heels, because I grabbed him, and I pushed him, and he fell, and he hit his head on the bench was down on the next set. I don't know why. But then I ran out. I took my shoes off because I couldn't run nowhere in high heels. Took my shoes off, and I ran out the front door. You weren't there, so how the F do you know?
I know all the whole
I ran out, down the steps, down the back lane, and I found a person that didn't have a fence, and I went through their yard, under the steps.
She hid underneath the steps.
I went under the steps. And I could hear somebody running down the sidewalk. Where are you, sweetheart? Sweetheart! And I, oh my God, this is a real kookball, whoever it is. So I stayed there, didn't say nothing.
He was an army guy.
Ernie? He wasn't a fucking army guy.
I know that guy. Shut up. You didn't even know the story, for Christ's sake.
So,
the way you tell
I
it.
came home, I waited for a while, and I heard him going back to the church. So, I was on D Street by this time. I had ran down to the back lane on D Street. So I only had to go down to the left and down, and I was to Finlayson, about 3 blocks. So I took my shoes under my arms and my purse, and I went running down
you
home.
make a story too
And
long.
by this time I was just a mess. I was screaming and crying. He's in bed sleeping.
Yeah.
That's how much the arguing of
But now I give a shit.
He's sleeping. And Debbie and my mother got up, his daughter and my mother got up, and what's the matter? There was a guy trying to choke me in the
She's
church.
going to be some hero go by herself. She goes into a church. It was completely dark. And this guy comes in, he's going to choke her to death.
Like, who would expect to be choked in the church?
And that guy would have killed her too,
But anyways,
because he was a mental case.
See,
She don't even know the guy.
The punchline comes out. But anyway,
I know him.
Debbie went downstairs, his daughter. She was about 17 then. She said, Dad, you've got to go with Mom, and I'm going to come with you. She's not lying. She's telling the truth, and she's phoning the police right now. She says, you get out of that bed and get dressed.
I didn't believe her. I kept on sleeping.
Finally, the asshole was out of bed.
You asked for what you got.
He drove Debbie and I to the church. We met the cop car. And he said, oh, my followers have returned. And the light was swinging again.
I came there and this guy says, the guy says, oh yeah, here comes our followers back. I said, yeah, I'm back all right.
So then the cop said, just stay where you are in the pew.
They had him out in the field,
then they took him
the
out,
parking lot.
and it had a big yard there, eh, and grass all there, and I knew that church backwards and forwards, but anyway, they had him out there, and he said, he's from the mental hospital. And I said, oh, I used to work there.
Yeah, he was in the army too.
I don't know who he was. I didn't know he was as old as he was. He didn't look that old.
He was in the army, and he was a crackpot.
But he was mentally ill.
He was mental as hell.
But he said, so you can't really lay a charge against him. I said, well, can I kick him in the balls? He said, if that gives you some satisfaction, go ahead. And I said, no, being nuts is punishment enough, I guess, for him.
Is that the end of your story?
That's the end. The end.
That was a long story. I could have made it a lot shorter.